Well, as promised, here is the Labor Day stream. I always try to keep my word if I can when it comes to just making content and doing things I say that I'll do. And usually, if I don't, it's a combination of things out of my control, which was the case with my job last Monday when I had the whole, tire exploding on me shenanigan, and how that was so illustrative of just several problems on top of each other, right? One person doesn't pay a bill for a phone, so you can't call anybody when this thing goes out. And then the one person that is able to speak to you during this is of no assistance whatsoever in terms of being able to actually do anything to help you. Um, and it's just it's sad. Oh, but yeah, the shift from yesterday was not the worst. I mean, for one thing, I was able to snag some parking that was pretty good the night before, so I didn't have to like deal with the usual headache of backing out and making sure that there's no car coming this way or that way, and that the car parked on the sidewalk is, not so horrendously away from me. It felt pretty good to just get in your car, zip away, none of the other nonsense. Of course, I wasn't able to do that again because by the time I came back today, uh, there were not one but two cars that had taken that spot. So hopefully, throughout today, one or both of those people will leave, and then I'll be able to grab one of those spaces again. Because I'm very sincere when I say that when you have a job that is over an hour away, or rather is an hour away in terms of just driving there, you don't need the extra headache of every time you get in your damn car, you're wondering, am I going to hit this person's vehicle? Is this? I That is the one thing I look forward to whenever I eventually am able to leave from over here, just not having to deal with that headache anymore. And it is a headache. Yeah, I don't know, I'm torn between a few edited videos. Right, we have Weird Men in their Discord leader. Um, I'm gonna try to work on it today. Not gonna make any promises about putting it out tomorrow or anything because I don't know what the full extent of the editing will look like. Anytime I have to grab a lot of screenshots, stuff tends to take longer than me just talking about something. Um, but yeah, torn between that and Nixon Part Two, uh, which is I tried so hard. I pledged to finish that before this week because I knew it was going to be a really busy week because it's 6 straight days of work. Um, well, except for Saturday, but I tried. I really did. Hopefully, I can. I'm about 90% sure it'll be done before the end of the month. But yeah, when because it occurred to me yesterday when I was just waiting for work to start because I go to this one restaurant that has Wi-Fi since the joys of not having a working phone. Um, I realized it's been a year like since I started the LBJ documentary, and I was really floored by that because it just didn't feel like it had been that long. I knew it started in September, but it's it feels like it was yesterday when I grabbed what was that Lone Star Rising and just started typing away at the computer. And I was like, I'm gonna finish at least one part of this, and then I remember after doing part one, I just I just ate and breathed part two. I mean, I finished an hour plus video in 5 days. But yeah, it's been nice to know that people are still watching it. My only thing I would like to have seen happen was just because, like I said, I've accepted that in all likelihood I probably will not ever get to a point where this site could be my main income ever. Like I just, you know, you can call me negative. That's just what I believe based off of the trends I've seen. But the one thing I do feel a little bit bad about is that I know if it were, I could make a lot of stuff faster and just, produce more things. Oh, man. Yeah, I've said before, I'm never opposed to doing work. I guess, prefer a different kind of it. Um, but as I was sitting there and just kind of, realizing it had been that long since part one came out, I started thinking about part seven. And I mentioned how the reason or have taken the months long hiatus from continuing that thing was that part six was a part that was a big deal in terms of that's where we start the actual tenure of him in office. Um, and when I got to just part seven, I've explained before that because Robert Caro's fifth volume will not be out anytime soon, which was supposed to be this big 1,000-page retrospective on the Johnson presidency, I probably for that period, and I started doing some of it yesterday actually, which is the most I've done for it since finishing part six. It's going to be some combination of multiple books and print sources. Um, and I'm trying to organize it in such a way that, because like I said, 64 is such a big year in American history. I mean, you have a few days into the year, the declaration of the war on poverty. Um, and this is like around the time that Goldwater announces he's running for president. And, as the year progresses, you get the Civil Rights Act, the Democratic and Republican national conventions over the summer. Um, and of course, there's things with Vietnam, they're kind of like brewing. They don't really tend to overlap. Like some of it factors into the campaign a little bit, but not that much. Um, so when I'm writing this, I'm kind of trying to put it in such a way that it is, what's the way of putting it? Um, I'm trying to think of the word. I'm putting it in a manner that I can be assured will have it reflect the narrative. But yeah, the way this is looking, I only have 2 pages of it right now, which I know makes it sound like I didn't write that much, but I did. It's the most I've written since part six came out. I think it will probably be at a minimum an hour long, if not even longer than that, probably like an hour and a half. It depends on what all we come up with. I'm staring down some 200-page section in Dalek's book and the last couple chapters of Caro's book. So there's uh, there's no shortage of content to go through. And I was using the American Presidency Project for some of the papers that Johnson had, which will also, be useful in terms of what directly he has to say about things as events unfold. And as I was sitting here and I was thinking about splitting it to where, like part 7 is 64, part 8 is 65, part 9 is 66, part 10, 67, part 11, 68, and then, to 73. I said, wow, so this, if this holds true, that means there's about 5 parts left. So we're about the halfway mark. Again, that's assuming that I don't change my mind or structure this differently. But no, I'm finally seeing the end to this. It's nice to work on something and feel like you're actually making some progress with it. I'll tell you that. I was on Amazon about a few hours ago, and I was just looking at some of the deals they have, and I've always been so fascinated by just when people want to get rid of something, they will lower the price on it so much. Like you'll have clothes that were listed at $20 or $30 and get cut in half in terms of their price. It's uh it's really tempting because since I've been lacking a working phone for the past week, I if I'm getting anything that's not an essential, it's usually some songs just because, I just when you drive for an hour, sometimes you're gonna hear something different. I don't know. That's just the way I view it. Every time I go on there and I see like, oh, you can get this book for $14. Like, well, I mean, I can get an album for 9. And usually I don't even get the whole album. I get because the one thing I like about iTunes is you can buy a song typically for about a dollar or something, and like $1.39 or so. They have some songs for a literal dollar. Um, and if you buy the song separate from the album, you don't have to pay extra for the album. They'll deduct it from the overall price of the album. So like let's say an album is 9.99, you buy 2 songs, it'll be 7 something dollars, which I do appreciate. Of course, I'll probably need a few hundreds to download every single Taylor Swift song known to man. So the world's most famous woman. Would I do a documentary on her? I'm thinking about it. I've never been against just taking a person's tale or story and recounting it. Like I I think the fact that there's so many books that exist on people that no one will ever read is so depressing, and I guess at least in this format, there is my showing of appreciation for the research of the various, authors that I use the materials of. Um, but when I think about the only like, the number one singer for me to do to even consider doing a documentary on, I always thought would be Michael Jackson, but I guess he has the Abraham Lincoln syndrome where if I think someone is so famous that there's almost no way for me to just come at it in a way that's different or unique, I'll probably just say the hell with it. So yeah, I think I'll probably abstain from starting any new ones. I definitely have my work cut out for me with these other ones. Of course, I'm always cognizant of the fact that I don't have to make them all the way if I don't want to. It's just I like to have a few of them, so there's a higher chance, I guess, of it being made all the way through, uh, instead of just start this and start that, and because that was one idea I had to just start a whole bunch of them, and then whichever one I feel like continuing, I'll go from there. Oh man, a lot of these sites, I tell you, they're so useless. Like I've gotten to the point now where I join on Discord and see some of these calls, and there will be five, six, seven people in there, or sometimes even lower amounts, and just I'll just join, listen for a few minutes, and just leave. I joined a call yesterday. Somebody was saying certain terms that I don't like. And I think they said one, like the same one, 5 times in 2 minutes. And I just, I left out of there. This is stupid. It's just so funny to me how you can't get good human interactions with people in like online or in person. Uh, like you would think in an era where you can talk to people from other states, other countries, it would be easier to just find someone you have something in common with. But I've been proven wrong. The biggest problem I ran into is a lot of people I really like are just not around as much as I would prefer. Like I mentioned, my friend and how he and I will go weeks or, and I think in one case even months without speaking to each other because just he's busy. I am to I guess a lesser degree as well. Yeah, this is an era of difficulty when it comes to just maintaining relationships and actually seeing something progress. It's really unfortunate. But I guess I'm not too surprised because I mean the writing's been on the wall for a long time. You know, I've seen even back when I was in like high school, just classmates that you would try to, let's say, hang out with, and they were kind of flaking on you, or hey, I got can I get your number? We can I call you? Like I wouldn't even have considered myself the most outgoing person, but the direction of a lot of this stuff in recent times has been more kind of all over the place. Like back then, there were just people you didn't talk to, people that you might not have any necessary animosity towards, but you're not exactly sitting there going, "Oh man, if this person asks me for my number, I'm going to give it to them, and I'm not going to answer or ever be available." You know, you didn't. I didn't see things like that until recently. Yeah, I make fun of Brit a lot, but I've actually been kind of surprised by her book so far. I haven't read all the way through it, but I certainly have liked what I've read so far. It's really not political. I mean, I'm about 70 something pages in, and you get a lot of like anecdotal stories about her trying to be a cheerleader and some stuff about her husband, but there are um interspersed in there these different tales of be a change agent and believe in yourself and just stuff I can in a generic sense get behind. As I said, most of the for me, a lot of the memoirs that I think are really good, like a lot of the political books I've enjoyed the most, are the ones where I can take something from it beyond the what's the way of putting it, beyond just history. Like, oh, let me just here's this person talking about their life. You know, when you are able to have a theme in there that is separate from the actual story, there's so much more depth and purpose. That's why I bring up Master of the Senate, because for most people, they see that book on a shelf, they see that book just discussed, whatever, and they think, oh, it's just another old boring politics book. But the truth is, it is a very instructive 1,000-page epic about leadership and keeping a group of people together, managing different personalities, enticing someone to go along with whatever you would like them to do or what position you have. And if you look at volume 4, which is my personal favorite volume of the series, um, The Passage of Power, I like that one so much because it's set during this 5-year period where Johnson lets the thing he wants the most slip by him, right? He doesn't pursue it as aggressively as he should. And he spends the next 3 years after this thinking that, he's done, he can't go any further. Um, and it is this tale, like when you break this stuff down, it's a tale of someone missing their shot at greatness, thinking that their life is basically over, and then being proven wrong in the most profound manner imaginable. Um, like as I read those two books, I understood. why Caro is considered one of the best biographers, period. His writing style and way of describing events uh, is really emblematic of something deeper than just here's this thing that happened 50, 60, 70 years ago. Just like if I were to ever write, and of course, I don't think I ever will because who would read it? But if I were to ever write a memoir, for example, I wouldn't want it to just be, oh, here's me in kindergarten, first grade, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. It would be there would be a purpose to it. You would get these characters, different people that had meant something to me, and you would see in multiple exchanges or different tales that are presented to you in chronological order, like why that person mattered to me. How, depending on if they're not around anymore, it just ripped my heart out of my chest and made it to where you didn't even want to be alive anymore, because with them not being there, it's almost like you're dead anyway. That's why I said I know that people have such a disposition towards reading, which is sad. But when we're actually, I guess what's a good way of putting it? There are some movies that I just don't think are good. But there's also been like a growing thing within the TikTok era where people are very likely to say, "Oh, this movie is too long," or "This movie is like movies are just too long." They speak in these general terms. It's like, okay, if we actually sit back and have a nuanced discussion about this, we can talk about ideal lengths of films. When you say something's boring, you're nebulous. Give me some more clear terms. Um, is it boring because it's not a comedy? What I'm getting at is there are some people who just don't like a certain genre or a certain thing, and they just dismiss all of it in like a with blanket statements. Like there are some really bad books. Ron DeSantis's memoir being one of them. But there are other ones where, whether it's the writing style or, and of course I'm saying it's all based off my own opinion, but as someone who has read, I'd say dozens of books. I'm not going to say 100, but or hundreds rather. It's been at least several dozens. As someone who's read several dozens of books, most of which concerning history and real life events, I know that I'm not this individual that just goes, boring. I know that there are ways that people can write that can be engaging to me. There's stuff that people can write about that I wouldn't necessarily find interesting in a vacuum, but if there's a deeper lesson to it, I'm more inclined to go, okay, this is something I can get behind. Like I'm not a sports fan. When I read this and Brit talks about her husband and how he was a football player. So like I don't, and the 2002 season, like this is stuff that I don't personally find interesting. But that's because I don't find sports interesting. But again, if there's a larger theme to go along with it, like, hey, they persevered and they won the playoff and they did this differently. Like, I can say, okay, well, even if it's not a thing I am typically in tuned with or find fascinating, whichever way you describe it, that's still something I can take a lesson from and remember the core points of what was being conveyed. The people are just so they're so dismissive. Like if I'm going to tell you something's boring, I at least would engage with it. There are shows where I watched it for maybe a season, 2 seasons, and I didn't like it, and I said that's why I don't like it. Um, I just think it's really, like I said, people they drive me crazy. They're always against something. They're always opposed to things. They don't, in many cases, have imagination, which is a big part of the reason a lot of the problems in this world exist. Like, I talked about this one relative and how this person mentioned to me when we were having this call together that, so sometimes you won't be able to save anything, like in just bringing about the tribulations of life. I said, not to them, but just internally, like, it's either because of my religion or maybe it's because I just have, I guess, a different mission than they do. But I don't believe that people exist to be miserable. I don't believe that people exist to work some dead end job, and any little bit of money they make goes to basic utilities that by the end of it make it to where they have nothing to enjoy themselves with, and this process repeats itself for however many years or decades until they die. Like, I just don't think that is what a person is meant to amount to. I refuse to believe that is my fate. That is the fate of, you know, anyone that doesn't want it to be that way. Um, and when you hear this person talk, they make it sound like you have to just, you know pay 2,000 plus for some crappy tiny house, and 700 plus for a car note on some vehicle that you own but not really. And you have to have multiple kids that you can't take care of, and just like, I look at that stuff and I'm not convinced that that is something that just it was thrust upon you. A lot of this stuff you created yourself. But again, to hear them tell it, you would think they just woke up one day and all of a sudden they have this 2,000 plus dollar rent, and the $700 car note, and some kid that they have to feed every and clothe and all the rest of it. It's like, I don't think that's normal. I don't think that's something that you're supposed to just do. Like, I couldn't imagine 10 years from now, 20 years from now, sitting up in a one bedroom apartment that cost 2,000 some dollars just to sleep up in. You go to your job, whatever, and here, oh yeah, oh, here's your car, 700 for the car note. This, like, I don't think that's what we're supposed to do. We're not. I don't believe people are supposed to just have nothing, other than headaches. And I don't know. I discussed this a few streams ago. I just don't think it's right. No, I find conversations like that so depressing because I would like to believe, if I'm an older adult and there's some up and comer who is just starting to work, that if I'm going to give them any advice, if I'm going to tell them anything about the world and what they can expect from it, Of course, you're realistic in terms of, hey, you'll make this much and you'll have to make sure that you have enough for, basic utilities. But I don't ever want to get to a point where I just am comfortable telling someone, oh, yeah, you're just going to barely have any damn money for the rest of your life and, never actually be able to do anything you want, like go out of town or go on a vacation or, buy a house or, just, or hell, buy another computer. Like, I don't believe that is the purpose of existing to just be miserable and exist to be a body at some job and never get to do the things you want to do. And it's sad that they try to sell that stuff and pass it off as just the way that things have to be. It's really depressing. Because for someone like me, I think that's crazy, but for someone like them, they think it's normal. They think it's just how stuff goes. That's one of the reasons why when we would discuss a lot of this relationship stuff, it's really sad that it always gets boiled down to you're an I word and uh, no woman will ever like and all the rest of that garbage because there is a conversation to be had about someone, for example, wanting to have a family, but the issue of these women that don't want to have kids or that don't want to get married or just any of the pitfalls that could result in you getting a result that is detrimental to either you or someone else involved with it. Because I said before, I think a lot of these out of wedlock births have rotted away many children's potential to have a stable environment. And it's really not fair to them. It's not fair to really to anyone that is not, part of that horrendous couple that created that circumstance. And it's unfortunate to know that no matter how much technology advances, no matter how many times that we have examples of statistics that show these children that come from these one parent houses are more likely to, drop out of school or to jail, all the different bad things that can happen. There will be two savages, two buffoons, two idiots that lay up in bed together, create this thing, and start this whole cycle again. Just just makes you sick. At least it makes me sick anyway. Because people are they're never going to learn their lesson. They're just going to keep doing the same dumb stuff forever and ever. Like I was thinking about the one person that the girl or whatever that kid with that guy, and they both live in bad neighborhoods. And it's like you guys grew up in rank and file poverty, places where you don't want to be there at night or be there at a certain hour because you're afraid somebody will rob it or whatever. And it's like you would really, instead of just, hey, we've been together as a couple for 5 6 years, let's actually move in together and you know get some money going so we can get out of these bad neighborhoods. Nope, let's have a kid so we can grow up in the exact same lousy circumstances that we did. Yay. I don't know. I just, these patterns, they don't seem to go away. course, that's one of the things I always thought was funny. People will get more mad at me for making a video than they will at parents for destroying the lives of their own children. And I guess I get to a point where like I'll be bothered by something for a long time, and then there will be an apathy that just settles in, like, during that 2017, 18, 16, like during that period, I was really trying to meet someone. And it's just between the stuff online and the different ridiculous encounters in public places, it just got so ridiculous that I was like, you know what? To hell with it. That's why I said I haven't. I'm very serious. I mentioned I have not asked out a woman in 3 years, and I have no intention of doing so again because there just seems to be no point to it. I mean, if all they can produce is more worthless talk, right? People say they like you and then they get rid of you after a few days, few weeks. I just don't see the purpose. Yeah. And like I said, there's not a day that goes by where I don't think about how nice it might have been to have things that were different. Uh, to have been able to go to college and get a degree, or to have met someone and got married and had a family, or hell, to even have, relatives that weren't dying every other year. But that's what I said. I just have a general cynicism with a lot of this stuff because internally, I know that I tried as hard as I could to not have this happen. There are some things I can't control, and it is what it is. I'm just trying to make the best of what I've been given. I will say that there was one person who suggested the idea of, I guess, making what's a good way of putting it? How did they describe it? It was like, oh, you could do this. Like, yeah, I'm good. There are certain lines I just don't think should be crossed in terms of with the desire to have a family, especially if you want to have kids. I think there's that needs to be done in a specific way, and anything short of that is just not likely to produce an ideal set of circumstances for the child involved. Mm. That's why I say everything about modern relationships is just so rotten. Like now when I go to work, ever since the McSignals Queen saga, you have some girls smiling at you and all the rest of them. I'm just thinking to myself, which one's going to be next? Which one's going to try to put the needle in me? Like I said, once you erode someone's trust, it is hard to get it back, especially as an institution. Um, Betrayal is not something I kid about when I make reference to it. Like I feel betrayed. I think you can't create so and I've tried to explain this to my detractors, but they'll never listen. people have this idea in their heads of like, some man goes up to some woman and she turns him down and then he gets angry or says something offensive, whatever. Like it's just that's their image of this stuff. But what ends up happening is so much more complex or nuanced than that. You have these long, drawn out scenarios to get to that point of just flat out no. In many cases, that point of no doesn't come at all. Like, we look at the mixed signals queen saga and how this all starts with asking somebody to go see a movie and they agree, they stand you up at the last minute, you get upset with them, but after 2 weeks you apologize to them, and that already is like, what the hell, because they're the one that botched it. So like you're already approaching the Twilight Zone-esque, you know, stuff where you have to legitimize the woman's insanity to even like attempt to make something good come out of this. But you start speaking to her again and you mention, hey, maybe we could do this. And instead of just saying, look, I don't want to do this, I'll let you know. I'll let you know. And it's like, again, that stuff really it drives me insane because why can't someone just say no? Why can't they just tell you the truth? Hey, look, I don't want to do this with you. Why is that so hard for them to do? But again, because there are so many lies associated with them, I don't trust any of them. And the stuff on Discord's only been more emblematic of that. It's one of the reasons why I'm about to just get off that whole site again. My patience has eroded once more. How many times can you just keep acting crazy and stupid? Mm. Yeah, people are so goofy. But yeah, the cynicism has set in really hard. Um, and I don't know what it would take to even be able to, I guess, break out of it or not have that viewpoint. Because for me, it just felt like a lot of the basic things that people try to get you excited about for, you know, the extent of your living were never carried out on or fulfilled. And it's not as if someone, and this is why, we talk about like idiots like Molecule Splitter. It's not as though someone sat here just waiting for something to happen. It's like you go to all these different schools, you go on all these different websites, and you can't meet one woman that you like and who you think reciprocates. It never happens year after year, attempt after attempt. But the one thing you'll see no matter what is some weird guy appearing out of the clear blue sky to blame you for everything. My patience just, yeah, it's all the way. I actually set the alarm to wake me up, so I'd be here for the long covenant stream that I said I would do. Yeah, I don't know. Things are not the way they're supposed to be. And then you look at these relatives and how I'm very serious in saying that I sometimes wonder to what extent these people are aware of their own insanity. Like when the homeless saga happened last year, the person who orchestrated that, will say to me, "You chose to be homeless," just stupid stuff, right? But they know internally, they know to some degree that not, that made them look bad because a lot of basic relatives, people who live in the same city, not that far away, who I've seen since, say they had no idea that happened. Say that this was completely undiscussed around them, that they have no clue. And I'm inclined to believe them because I know that this person, for all of their insanity, for all of their money hungry, only cares about coin ways, they have something internally that goes, yeah, this is not a good look. This does not bode well for my reputation. Now, of course, I couldn't care less about stuff like that. But then again, I don't do things like uh charge people who don't have jobs $1,000 a month or try to do that anyway. So maybe that's why I don't feel the same way they do. But it's hard to not be upset over this stuff. I can say that because again, people just they do things and they don't care. Oh, you don't have anywhere to sleep? Oh well, should have given me $1,000 a month. Unemployed person. And then you had this thing with the bank, right? The 1,000 a month. Oh, uh, you're paying 700 to bank. Oh well, give me 300. You can't afford to eat because you gave all your money to the bank and me, and I won't give you 1 cent for anything you actually need to survive. Too bad. Go die. They just don't care. That's all it comes down to. They just don't care. And man, it's like the mask got peeled off so fast. Like I remember during that period of I think it was like November, December of 2022, and I was like first discussing with them the possibility of living together. Um, there was commentary on their part about I can't afford this and all the rest of that. They sing the "I'm So Poor" song, right? And when they crashed my stream back in December, I'm not buying you food. You're an adult. So you see that the narrative changed. First, it was I'm so poor. Then it was you're an adult, so just go die. Like I said, I got to a point where reluctantly I accepted that 300 a month ransom. Uh, like I thought it was ridiculous to have to pay that to just live with a relative, especially when it claims to love you so much, right? Love in quotation marks. But when you put that thing from the bank on there, I held out for 5 months. I just couldn't do it anymore. And they will never acknowledge that they did anything wrong. They will never admit I shouldn't have kept charging you that way. You're paying this other thing. It never occurs to them to acknowledge that at all. Even now, they're talking about go get a new phone after you just spent how many hundreds of dollars trying to get the car fixed because nobody will help you pay for it after all. So, and of course, the phone thing they're not going to help pay for either. It's just it's insanity. But yeah, I can't help but feel so frustrated in terms of relationships because when you know that you've tried to make it not be this way, and it just feels like this was thrust upon you, someone else didn't pay a bill, so you can't call anyone at all. Um, your best bet is to show up at these people's houses unannounced, and even then, it's like one of them you can't even like. I wouldn't even know how to be able to contact them because they're in this building that has like this buzzer system in the front I've never had to use before. I just call them, so it's all just really lousy. Like, um, no hope for a lot of this stuff. And I don't enjoy having people in real life that I just despise, where like I don't enjoy having a relative where every time you see them you roll your eyes and just feel whatever type of way that you do. But this is what they created. I don't know, it's all just I just find it depressing. Like, why is empathy so hard to come across? Because I expect random people on computers are going to be jerks, whatever. But like your own family does not care if you're alive or dead. Um, I just, I just couldn't imagine treating another someone I claim to love that way. Because that person didn't pay that bill. If I hadn't have decided to like drive off there, I would have been stranded on the freeway. I guess just having to hope that someone would lend me their phone. Like it's really surreal. And their screw up did cost me a lot of money and it cost me a day of work. And like they don't care. I sent the other one who I know is in constant contact with him a message about it, right? Explaining it's a little like two-sentence thing. Hey, do you know when it's gonna come back on? I had my tire explode and they have not responded at all still in over a week. And it's like again, it's just more proof that these people are a bunch of liars and con artists, like all saying one thing and then doing something else. All this relationship stuff just makes me want to vomit. Like, the way that people act, how diametrically opposed they are to actually being the thing that they profess to be. It's really sad. Like I've had some messages from these people where they say they love me, and I just recoil. It just makes me roll my eyes. I wish that words actually meant something. Like when I talk to my friend, I always tell him I appreciate him. Ask him, hey, when can we speak again? Will you be available this week? I try to make it very clear that this is something I want to see continue. And with a lot of these people, they just, I mean, I talked before about how, like, the same idiot that's saying that I'm so missed or whatever when they're talking to other people, um, The reality is when I was over there, you don't actually do anything with them. They just sit in another room or they sit and stare at a screen or whatever and just kind of ignore you. Like you're there in name only, or I guess just in action, in just being a presence that is around, but in terms of them actually doing anything with you, just never. It's how crazy that you spend all these weekends with this person or being in the same house as this person, and never once they ask you, "Do you want to go see a movie?" Um, they only ever took me out to eat one time, which was close to the start of when I began staying over there. And all in all, they just don't give a damn about doing anything with me. Like I can say I feel alone, the isolation, which I do, but I didn't feel anything being around them because they don't do anything with you. You're nothing. You are a ghost. And that's why I said I just concluded that no matter how many people I speak to online or how many people at my job smile at me, in all likelihood, I'll always just be alone. I'll like even if I presumably get more money or a place or whatever the hell, that's better than this one. It'll just, I'll just be me sitting at my computer or, just it's just so frustrating, because I'm sure there are people that exist that like the same things as me. It's just difficult to be able to do anything with them or really feel anything at this point. Like when you have a betrayal as badly as that thing with mixed signals queen, where all you wanted to do with that stupid bastard was just go see a movie and she ruined it spectacularly. Um, it's hard to just try starting something with another, especially another woman. They can spin and twist anything into being, something that makes them uncomfortable. The betrayal is rampant. So I said sometimes I see some of them online or one of these sites. I don't even say anything now. Like there was one that was on my friend list. Been on there for about a month or two, and I saw her online yesterday. I didn't say anything. It's like, what's the point? Like, for what? Too much pain, so little gain. I was thinking about and even with the Miss Revolving Door like story arc, that's another just example of how rancid this stuff can get. I always think about those seals that come out of the clear, out of nowhere, right? To defend these chicks. But I said before that I just don't see a point to this. Like if we can declare with a reliable pattern that you are not going to get what you want out of a relationship with a woman, whether it's being friends with one of them or um, even much less likely at this point, but attempting some romantic thing. I just can't see the purpose in talking to any of them, or at least I can't see the purpose in reaching out to them, beginning conversations with them, anything like that, because there's just no long term manner of being able to determine that this is going to go anywhere. I remember famously 2 months ago. 2 years ago, there was a lady that I was playing some game with for I think 4 or 5 hours, and it was with some other people. And by the end of the conversation we had, I asked her if she would accept my friend request, and she said she would, and she did. And I went to sleep, and I woke up I think 6, 7, 8 hours later, and she had unfriended and or either unfriended and blocked me or blocked me, before, whichever way, but it like completely did an about face. And I was very upset by this. I was talking about it in some VC. I had somebody tell me to get over it, and it goes back to that same thing of like you just can't trust them. You can have a woman who calls you annoying, which one of them did earlier this year before trying to put me on her stream, which was even more hilarious. But you can have one that just is like completely just irritated with you, and you're more likely to believe in her sincerity that she just doesn't like you, is sick of you, whatever, than you are one who says that you're one of her favorite people to speak to. Because look at how much stuff they can say, and it just means nothing. It's just worthless talk. I mean, you look at this stupid girl, the one that was in another country that said she liked me, and like I still have the proof of her saying this stuff. Uh, but just you're a lot of fun to be around, and all these different things. And within days or a week of her supposed romantic confession, which I don't believe, because women online have said everything, said and done everything, or rather said everything, done nothing, because all they just more running of the mouths. But it's like, how do you go from saying like just complete tongue bath of somebody, oh, you're so great to be around, and I have so much fun with you, to this conversation has reached a stale point of disinterest? Like, again, who's supposed to look at this and go, "Oh yes, this is going somewhere. I can trust when they say something." It's all BS. It's all hogwash. It's all vapid, nonsensical lies. I mean, you just can't take any of it seriously. All the smiles, all the compliments, let them go in one ear and out the other. It's too facetious for my taste. And again, I'd like to live in a world where I can believe that when people say something, they actually mean it. But when I see evidence that is to the contrary, I'm going to say the evidence doesn't support this being a reliable group of individuals. People get mad at me for saying that, but it's the truth. You just can't trust them. There's no way to take them seriously. And again, it drives me crazy because I don't exist in a vacuum. So I guess when I go to my job, I see people who I know, they hang out together, they do things outside of there, and I'm like, why can't I have that, right? But for some people, no matter how much they try, no matter how many attempts they make towards whatever, it's just never enough. You must be missing something. By the 2020s, you're bound to see women at their best, to be seeing chicks at their best. I'm serious. They turn so fast. You can't take any of it seriously. This one guy said you're more likely to see um what was it, TASM 3 than a woman actually be interested in me. I told you the one I spoke to on Discord for a bit. Remember, her reversal was so predictable. Oh yeah, that sent you the bones emoji. I don't know what it is about these websites. Like again, chicks in real life are bad too, but a lot of them when they get online, they feel like gods. They feel like they can just, hey, how are you on Monday and then Tuesday? Block, unfriend, delete. Just they turn so quick. Like I read the messages between me and that one that was the main issue in the Discord video, right? And the way she sounded on those first 2 days and the way she has sounded ever since, it's like two different people. Like I really am not kidding when I say something like I try not to think too hard about the reversals, like why they do it, because it will literally drive me insane. You know, you go and you talk to somebody for some cases hours, and you get this idea that maybe they like me, maybe they like speaking to me, and then they go, "Just kidding." No, like I wish you could have heard the exchange between me and Mixed Signals Queen right when I first asked her to go see a movie. It went just like this. Hey, blank, you do anything on Saturday? No. Want to go see a movie? Yeah. So quick, so fast, smiling from ear to ear. And it's like, how the hell does that saga end with her trying to get me fired? Like it's crazy. Dude, at one point I walked that bimbo to her car and I was like, if you don't want to see a movie with me, you don't have to. It really doesn't make sense. But she's not the first one to do that. She's the one of the most damaging ones because of what she tried to do could have really hurt me in a way that she didn't care about because these people don't care about anyone but themselves. But still, I was actually going to tell you that my job is giving me 6 days of work this week, um, and I looked on the schedule because I always try to check to see when I have to see my damn arch enemy on there, and I think they might be. Again, I know we talked about her 9 lives, but it's really interesting to me that the same week they give me 6 days, I only see her on there for one. Um, so I think they might be phasing her out because there's like a consistency where all the like people I have worked with tend to be there for at a minimum like 3 days a week, 4 days a week. I just I don't know. I just think that's interesting. That would forever have me stumped. Never did I thought something like that could spiral in that way. Well, you saw the saga unfold in real time. I mean, that thing went on for 2 months almost, right? And even after it ended, we got more revelations. Um, but the core theme was just lies, like just saying one thing, doing something else. I'm not really a very social kind of person. Hey, I'll pick you up tomorrow at 8. Okay. And then, of course, standing that guy up and showing up at the same event with another guy in their pajamas. It's just you can't trust anything they say. I wouldn't even trust them if they say their favorite color is green. They should just get rid of her already. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I think they're desperate. I mean, you saw when I like no called, no showed, I was really scared the day that happened, right? Because I didn't know if my message went through. I didn't know if they saw it, but I didn't face any penalty. And they said that's because of my like I guess good reputation. But I was thinking like, man, if I'm that afraid of missing one day of work, imagine what she should be feeling if she does it so often because she no called, no showed. I think on either Thursday, and they just I've been noticing I'm seeing her a lot less. Interesting. By the way, Megumi, I want you to answer me this question. If you were a major studio and you're making films, her services aren't needed. She's bad for the company. I agree. Remember, they got more mad at me for having a discount than her not coming to work. So I'm going to ask you if you're a company and you're making movies and your main thing is you're trying to make money, are you going to make something that people actually want to see, or are you going to waste your time making things that no one asked for? Just curious. I feel like I know what side you would lean on, but I'm just curious. I'm just wondering. Hmm. Like that amazing movie, Madam Web. I'm not even just referring to Sony. Um, I think they're screwed no matter what they do because Venom 3 is gonna, come out and it'll do whatever. And then Craven's gonna come out and I think that'll probably flop. Uh, but even beyond Sony, right? They're just like on a suicide mission financially. Like they have no trajectory to get anything higher than what they have. Look at Marvel. Like I told you that between 2008 to 2019, they had this 11-year period of just they were untouchable. All these movies are making billions of dollars. Um, just low, like money was falling from the sky, right? If you look at their track record over the last 3 years, they have had about four movies that were hits. They've had No Way Home. Everybody went to go see that. Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2. Actually, you know what? I gotta change my number. Deadpool and Wolverine and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And what I thought was so interesting about these five hits is that you look at each one of them and they're all based off of something that like pre-existed, right? Let me read what you said. I just wish we could get a damn Spider-Man 4. Surely people would want to see that. Oh, we will get Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland. I know you're really excited. Oh my god. I set this alarm over and over. But I was saying that I noticed that each one of the films that they've done that's been successful has been tied to some pre-existing thing that was already something people were excited for. Like No Way Home had, the Raimi characters and the web ones as well. Um, Deadpool and Wolverine again is a sequel to the first two Deadpools, and you bring in Hugh Jackman, who's been playing Wolverine for over 20 years. So it's like just instant money maker. But what I thought was so fascinating is how this franchise that used to be untouchable, man, they have been falling off so hard. Like, I remember when Captain Marvel came out and it made $1 billion+ for reasons that I think are self-evident, but I digress. And they do a sequel to it, and they know not to call it Captain Marvel 2 because they know nobody likes Brie Larson. But they do a sequel to it, and it bombs. It's the first movie they've done in 15 years that just flops. Like, undisputed, just tanking at the box office. Like no one went to go see that. And I was it really is too big to fail. Like, they make all this stuff that's always printing money, and they go, "Okay, we can do whatever we want." And it turns out, no, you actually can't. Our coins are gone. But guess what? Every time they put out some stuff that nobody wants to see, they rush to make something that people are gonna watch. It's like, oh, nobody wants to go see Eternals or the Marvels or even like Ant-Man 3. Oh, okay, well we'll do a Deadpool film and we'll have Hugh Jackman. So they always put that hand up for that spirit bomb. This one film's like, give me your energy so we can save our dying franchise that nobody wants to watch anymore. But again, at least Marvel can say they were on top at one point, right? Like, Sony and DC don't know what they're doing. I am more interested in. Sorry, I got the. I tell you what it does. YouTube does this thing where they have this emoji that's like on the side, and it cuts off like part of your comments. Let me look on here and see. Uh, I promise you're not being ignored. I'm just trying to make sure I can read the whole message because this very lovely site does weird stuff sometimes. I am more interested in Storm much more than Wolverine and Deadpool. Um, yeah, YT really should change that layout. I mean, hey, eventually we'll get a new X-Men film at some point. I don't know when that will be. Like, I really couldn't tell you because the MCU is slow walking mutants into their crap. Like, you had Professor X and Doctor Strange too for a little cameo, and again, like Wolverine and that, and like he mentions the other X-Men from his timeline who are confirmed to be deceased, but I really don't know what their game plan is. No, I've always been really disappointed by the portrayals of Storm in other media. I think Storm is probably tied with Supergirl for being like a character who's really cool in comics that has adaptations that are just meh to horrendous. Like, they have a lot of overlap in terms of just their usage is really poor. Because the thing I always liked about Supergirl was how she is this more aggressive, feral version of Superman who doesn't have any of the same like hangups about humanity and a much bigger temper. Uh, and then you have the CW show, which basically just turns her into Clark Kent, where she has her own identity and just really bland and not understanding what I found appealing about the character, what made her unique to her cousin. Uh, Same thing with a lot of Storm adaptations. I mean, I don't know how anyone could have seen those, the X-Men films and like thought that was a good version of Storm. She's just whatever and that stuff, which really is a shame because I mean, she is one of the best X-Men members. So it's just they they don't adapt stuff well. That's all I can say. So like, Storm's part of that X-Men group that saved the comic because I mentioned before X-Men got canceled after 60 something issues and was just not a thing for 5 years. Like they just kept reprinting old stories until they did Giant Size X-Men #1, where all the original members except Cyclops get captured, and he has to get this new team of Wolverine, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Storm. I believe Banshee was in there as well, and then that group becomes the new X-Men. And then Jean joins again later on, but like that team stays for a pretty long time. There's just so much X-Men stuff that's never been adapted anywhere or really like gone into. Like I'm still surprised we haven't had Mr. Sinister in a movie. And of course, the first time we get Craven, it's not even with Spider-Man. It's not stupid. I was just thinking about that. I was like, they want, like Raimi at one point mentioned that if he had a second trilogy, he would have used Craven at one point or another. Um, TASM wanted to use Craven for its Sinister Six spinoff that never got off the ground. And then the original plot of No Way Home, if they weren't able to get the actors for the whole multiverse concept, was to use Craven to have like a story where it's an exposed reveal to be a superhero, Peter versus the big game hunter, which I thought would have been interesting. Uh, So they passed up all these chances to have Craven with Spider-Man to do a solo Craven movie, which is confirmed to not be in the same universe as TASM because there's already a Rhino in TASM, and the trailer shows that Rhino will be in there. What about Carnage? Um, I'm just thinking about it right now. Give me a second. So there is a rumor. It's not verified. Like the villains of Raimi's Spider-Man 4 were going to be Vulture and Black Cat. It would either have been Vulture and Felicia Hardy as the Vulturess, but it would have been some combination of those two. At one point, it has been alleged that Sony pushed for Raimi to adapt Carnage. Again, that's a rumor. That's not something I can verify. Um, Carnage was supposed to be the main villain of the solo Venom movie that was pitched back in I think the 90s. And when we ended up getting the Venom movie from Sony, they didn't use him. They used him in the sequel, which I really just roll my eyes about. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much the extent of him in live action. Because you know that like they've barely really touched Venom. Like he's in Spider-Man 3, and besides that, he's not really a fixture in any of the Spider-Man films. which is sad because, dude, could you imagine if the Raimi series got the expansion that the Fox X-Men series had, where it's like you get the second Raimi trilogy, and then you have the Topher Grace Venom just doing his own little like adventures. Like, oh, you thought we were blasted away or destroyed? No, we weren't. We were sent to the because ever since the Raimi trilogy came out, the symbiotes have had a big lore expansion where there's like this symbiote hive mind, and we've met Null, who was the creator of the symbiotes, where he's got this big red spider on his chest. So they could, if they wanted to make a movie like that, they could pull from a lot of the stuff that's come out since. Black Cat as a villain. I mean, my thing is, if we're talking about Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6, again, the Raimi version, right? Uh, you could easily, because this is who was it again that was supposed to play Anne Hathaway, so she played Catwoman in Dark Knight Rises. But you could easily have a redemption story for Black Cat, where over the course of the trilogy, starts out as a villain in 4, right? Then an anti-hero in 5, and then a hero in 6. Give it the reverse of Harry's arc, where he was, good guy in the first one, kind of like leaning toward being bad in the second, then full on villain in the third one, right? She'd have the reverse. Told you, I wrote a not a script, but like I had like pieces of it. But I wrote anytime I write a script for something, I always have an outline. I wrote an outline for Spider-Man 4. It was supposed to be a year after the third movie, and Peter and Mary Jane were married, and he was trying to balance his superhero and daily life with being married or whatever, just kind of like have struggling with that. Uh, and Vulture was going around trying to make himself younger, but his experiments weren't working, and they were turning people to bones. And his daughter, who in this version is Black Cat, because that was the original plan for that film, supposedly, is like torn between her loyalty to her father and trying to like not be part of his evil stuff. I thought long and hard about that film. And then 5 is, very easy to write because then you just do Lizard because they already set that up in the second and third one. Well, that's one of the reasons why I don't like TASM 1 that much as a film, because Lizard is an interesting character. Like, if like imagine the Raimi version, the was the Dylan Baker or whatever, I think that was his name, and you see him with his son. They go to a football game, his little son, and he watches some other father pick their kid up. Oh, did you like the game, the match, whatever? And then he realizes, oh, I can't pick my son up because I only have one arm. I told you that when TASM fell through after they fired Garfield following the second movie coming out, Sony did consider making a second Raimi trilogy. Like, I'm not kidding. Because the whole thing was like, oh, Maguire is too old. They weren't saying that after. Dude, it's like, it reminds me of like when somebody has a new partner and they break up with the partner and they're like, maybe I should go back to my last one. That's what they were with Maguire. They're like, maybe we should get him and Raimi. And Sony always planned on doing more stuff with Maguire, because during their initial plans for TASM, right when they were plotting all these different spin-off movies, they floated TASM versus Spider-Man, which is supposed to be a crossover between Maguire and Garfield's universes. So there was always intentions to return Maguire in some form at some point. They didn't want him to be like Well, I'm not going to say that. Let's just say there are some actors who have played iconic characters and they never returned to play them again, and it's been real sad. As much as I'd like it, Megumi, I don't think we'll get a second trilogy. I think at best we can get one movie, and if it does really, 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 really well, then they might make another one. That's as as good as I would wager right now. I'm not even trying to be some down in the dumps person. I'm just saying that Sony is really hesitant to do anything that people actually want to see. So I just wouldn't get your hopes up for anything too dynamic. And it is sad. 'Cause I told you I've just become more and more frustrated with all these reboots, just starting over, begin again. I'm sick of it. Damn, that's why we have to sell for movies like Madam Web that they Dude, it's so sad that they really don't seem to realize that they're fools. Like nothing they're putting out does anyone want to see other than Venom. And a lot of the goodwill towards Venom was just that people thought it was an MCU movie. Like people did not go watch the first Venom because it was this groundbreaking, amazing film. It was people thought it was connected to Marvel's stuff, and it wasn't. So it like deceptively made money. That's why the second one didn't make anywhere near as much. But stuff like Morbius and Madam Web and soon Craven, it's just disposable garbage, man. Just trash. By the way, there's only one movie I'm going to see in cinema this year. If you say Craven, I will go scream. I mean, hell, you can only see one movie in cinema this year because they just keep getting more and more expensive. Like you go to a theater and you buy a ticket for two people, and it's like just barely like under $30. It's really ridiculous, especially if you try to get some popcorn. I tell you, I went to go see Spider-Man 2 earlier this year when they put him, out in because Sony was trying to make their money back from Madam Web bombing, so they re-released all the Spider-Man films. And I went to go see the second one in theaters, and it was $5 to go see it. The popcorn was $10. And of course, they don't tell you how much this crap costs until after you go up and they're like, "Hey, can I get some popcorn?" Just insane. Oh man, this is an affordable movie. Oh no, never mind. Oh hell no. Sonic 3 movie I'll be watching. I forgot to even mention that, like the trailer or anything. It's been such a hectic week that I just watched the trailer and then I don't want to say I forgot about it, but I was just thinking of all this other crazy stuff. And yeah, that's really insane. Dude, I could buy a whole album of music for the cost of that popcorn bucket. It's nuts. But I was going to tell you that at one point during a previous stream, you had asked me what I thought of Ant-Man 3. And I was going to say to you that that movie is actually slightly more important. Like, so Batman and Robin is not a good movie in my opinion, but it's an important film because it's the reason that there's no Batman movies for almost 10 years. Like it almost killed the series where they had to just start all over again. Um, and ever since that film came out, it's really been the death of non-trilogy uh recast. Like if that film had been successful or had been more well received, whichever way you spin it, we would have had Batman Unchained. We would have kept going in that same continuity, even if the actor who played Batman changed every other movie or changed every movie. So it's a really significant film, even if you don't like it or whatever. Ant-Man 3 is a big deal in terms of when you think about this. It's the first, it's one of the few Marvel movies that didn't break even when it came out. Few MCU movies had that feat before the Marvels. And it was supposed to introduce the next big bad after Thanos, right? The villain who was gonna be the threat for the next several years, with Kang, who was supposed to be reprising his appearances in Avengers 5 and 6. And after that guy did what he did to his girlfriend, they won't. You'll be lucky if you even see Kang get mentioned after, like if they make any more films that are set after that one. Like it's a really fascinating movie because it's a peek into what could have been before they started like turning the wheels and switching gears. So it's one of those things where the film itself might not be that great, it might not be that good, but it will always be a movie that I remember because it is a glimpse into a world that never was. Same thing with TASM 2. TASM 2 was supposed to set up 4 or 5 different movies that never happened. Same thing with The Mummy. The Mummy was supposed to set up a whole new cinematic universe of Universal monsters. Never happened. So whenever you have a film like that where it's designed to be the beginning of something else, or there's like pieces of it, or maybe it's a part of something that was meant to go one way but didn't, it's always interesting to me. Like Megumi, if you go back and watch Ant-Man 3, you're watching a movie that was meant to be a trailer or be part of the setup for this villain who was supposed to, be the new major threat that we're going to see for the next several years. And it all died months later when the stuff with Jonathan Majors and his girlfriend came out. So now that movie is, in terms of the story of the series, pointless, but in terms of just like a glimpse into what could have been, I think it's interesting. I really forgot about Sonic 3. I can't believe it. You know what it is? I've been like just on autopilot with that film because we only had one trailer and they haven't really been talking that much about it. So I keep forgetting it's even coming out as soon as it is. Like I have to keep reminding myself it's coming out this year. Yeah, I'll probably go see it. The popcorn costs more than seeing the movie. There was a film I went to see with my brother, and I remember I think our tickets were like $18 altogether. And I bought him some popcorn and a drink, and it was like $12. Like I made the comment to my grandma, I was like, the tickets cost almost less than the food. They sell these little chip bags for like $5. Like it's insane. You can go to the market and get 2 big bags for the same price. It's a ripoff. Ant-Man 3 released last year, didn't it? Yeah. And right after that movie came out, the actor that they like, dude, if you go back and watch not watch, but like just go and like read some of the reviews of that movie. They were all talking about Jonathan Majors, Jonathan Majors, Jonathan Majors. They were making him sound like he was this transcendent actor that was walking on water. They made his performance appear to be the greatest thing since Heath Ledger as the Joker. I mean, it was crazy. And within months of that movie coming out, the stuff with him and his girlfriend came out. And ever since he got his charges, Marvel has been like, all right, goodbye. We're done. We're done with you. We're done with Kang. It's over. Which is really sad because I like Kang as a character. So it is what it is. But I'm just saying that it's interesting to watch that movie knowing that it like it's all leading to something that got canceled. Like Avengers 5 was supposed to be Avengers the Kang Dynasty. And now we're getting Avengers Doomsday with Robert Downey Jr. Instead of playing Iron Man, he's playing Doctor Doom. They've changed course so quickly. It's incredible. But yeah, Ant-Man 3 came out last year, and it was followed by a reversal on Marvel's part. They had to shift gears. They were like, all right, we have to untangle ourselves from this web this actor put us in. I do recall his girlfriend in multiple movies I've seen. Very cool actress. Well, I'm just thinking about how so many people want to get a break in Hollywood, and I just couldn't imagine being in two blockbuster films in 1 year, to where people are like hyping me up. Oh, what a great performer! Da, 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 da. And then I just ruin all of it by doing something I didn't have to do. Like there's no way in hell you would see me in the types of stuff he was getting put in, and then I'm gonna do this to this person and have it all come out. It's peak self destructiveness. Like you have to really despise yourself to be like, oh, my career is taking off. Time to put an end to that. Just no, really. Like, could you imagine? Because at the MCU, I know you're not a big fan of it or haven't seen that much of it or whatever, but you understand the MCU is the most successful movie franchise ever. It's fallen off in recent years, but it has eclipsed Star Wars. It has eclipsed any other one you can think of. It has in 15 years, it took out all the other ones. And you get put in there, and you don't just get put in there for one movie. You get put in there for a role that's going to be at least several films. So, and these films are going to make at a minimum, like Avengers movies, at a minimum $1 billion. There's no way they don't. And you destroy your chances of being in those movies doing something that was completely unnecessary. Megumi, it's not a stretch to say that if you were put in Ant-Man 3 as the main villain, okay, the movie didn't break even, whatever. But if you're put in there as the main villain, you're going to be in Avengers 5 and 6. It is extremely unlikely that you'd probably ever have to work again a day in your life after the returns of those almost guaranteed $1 billion movies. He screwed himself out of a lot of recognition. He screwed himself out of a lot of money. I mean, this is almost like I have to keep going back to that same what was it, Ebenezer's Ghost? I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link. It's true. Like I've never seen that before, where you're guaranteed to be in $1 billion movies, and you just really does make you wonder what made him sabotage his own career. Stupidity. Megumi, I guarantee you, if somebody said just hold out 3 years and you're going to be in some billion-dollar movies in a starring role, you wouldn't have one temptation, one inclination to put your hand on any damn body or to do anything that could result in you getting convicted or sentenced. I mean, like your sense of self-preservation would just be too damn strong. You know you wouldn't do that. Dude, I guarantee you, if I came forward and said, Megumi, in 3 years, we're going to film a movie. And you know, it's not even just like me just saying this, it's something that's been guaranteed because the MCU has had, I told you, they've had multiple billion-dollar movies, right? Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor Ragnarok, Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home, just different billion-dollar movies, a whole bunch of them, several of them, multiple of them, whatever. So you know that when I say you're going to be in a billion-dollar movie in 3 years, you know that it's the truth. I guarantee you, if you were told that, and all you have to do is just wait, you can act in other stuff, but just like, keep your image clean, whatever. I guarantee you, you would lock yourself in your house. You would be, because like I don't necessarily do anything that it's not hard to just not break the law. It's not hard to just not put your hands on someone. It's like it's just peak stupidity. Like all he had to do was just hold out a few years, film these movies, and then whatever happens afterward, whatever. At least he made a lot of money. But just buffoon. I mean, like I said, Ant-Man 3 is not a great film. There are parts that I like. But it will always be interesting to rewatch, knowing that it's a peek into something we will never have. And they didn't cancel that story because people weren't feeling it. They really weren't. That's why the movie failed to break even when it came out. Uh, they canceled it because the actor who was playing the main villain, the actor who their franchise was going to be in large part based around for the next several years, he destroyed his reputation with something that was completely unnecessary. I guess recasting him would be very difficult to do. It actually would not. Because, so like, for example, Chadwick Boseman played Black Panther for 4 movies, and then he passed away from cancer. And Marvel made the decision to not recast him. And I was okay with this because I felt that because the movie made so much money, people were all praising Boseman, that if they got somebody else to play him, it would lead to people, what's the way of putting it, negatively viewing that new person in comparison with him. But the thing about Kang as a character is that there's so many different versions of him. Now, Marvel made the mistake of having all the different versions of Kang played by the same actor. That was dumb. But there's so many different versions of Kang in the multiverse that if they wanted to, they could say, hey, look, this is an alternate version. It's not the same one that you fought. So they could have kept the Kang story going because the character is one of those few Marvel properties, or Marvel entities that doesn't have a singular face, that doesn't have a singular version. So they could have if they really want, but I do believe there was also the belief that Kang was just kind of like whatever, like okay, maybe we shouldn't have gone all in with this. Uh, so that's why they're pivoting to Doom, which is also stupid because they're doing Doom right after one movie of Fantastic Four, which I think is nuts. Uh, see, he's Doom is like Magneto in the sense that you could do a trilogy or even more Fantastic Four films, right? And you would just have to have Doom in most or all of them because he's just that central to the group. You really are missing something by not having him around. Um, Really, that's kind of how Daredevil and Kingpin are at this point. But that's why I said their pivot is going to. We'll see what happens, but I think they're making a mistake. No, if they wanted to, they could have recast him. Kang is one of the few characters you could do that with, and there'd be very little to no issue. I'm just imagining you watching Ant-Man 3, you're like, wow, I can't wait to see Kang not come back. This is the start of phase 5. It's like, yeah, I see the start and began with a whimper. Dude, I'm not kidding. Like, there needs to be a list of superheroes, just like movies, right? Where it's supposed to be one way, and then it because of like stuff with actors, it just doesn't turn out the way it's supposed to go. Because Terminator 3 is like that too, where the original version had Sarah Connor alive, and about halfway through, she was gonna, I guess, get killed off or whatever. And Linda Hamilton was like, "This is really redundant. I'm not gonna waste my time with this." Um, so because of that, they didn't use the um, the character, right? And because of Edward Furlong's nonsensical personal issues, he got the character of John Connor was recast for Terminator 3. Just like they recast Morpheus. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with that. Dude, Lawrence Fishburne was like, they didn't even ask me to come. Every time you bring up Matrix, I'm just thinking about the guy that was like, this deals with real life concepts that those animes you like don't. You're late on seeing this. Person that was either not born or barely alive when it came out. Like I said, if someone who does not exist now went and watched my stuff 20 years or 30 years from now, which I don't think people will, uh, I would just be happy that it was still getting watched. I wouldn't go, "Oh, you should have watched this when you didn't exist." Yeah, that's pretty late. Yikes, that's pretty late. Dude, there are some people in this world that can just take like a position on something and it'll be so nonsensical to even like argue with the person over it that you're like, really? This is what you draw the line at? This is the thing that you're gonna like have a problem with? Are you serious? Like I remember there was a guy who told me that he didn't like it when people remember the birthday of a deceased person. He's like, it's cool if they live to that age, but if they didn't, I don't know what the point of mentioning it is. Like, uh, well, if the person meant something to them, whether it's a person they know personally or some famous person, they'll probably remember the occasion of their birthday because it's more likely to make them think of the person that's no longer here than just a normal given day. But that stood out to me because I'd never seen someone have a problem with, oh, today would have been, I don't know, Easy E's birthday, just as an example, or John Lennon's birthday. Somebody say, oh, wow, how old would they have been? They wouldn't go, well, it doesn't matter, they're deceased. It's like you're missing the point. People will argue with you over anything. They'll take an issue over anything. God. Oh boy. I don't think I'll ever forget that line. Hey, you've never seen this. But you've noticed that in the last and oh, that's really silly. Dude, there's a guy who was like, so like that most public figures use social media, right? A lot of these singers have YouTube channels where they put up their music videos or even just like singles of their songs. Um, a lot of actors, like Will Smith, has a channel on YouTube. A lot of actors are making channels. There's this one actress that has like a podcast that she puts on YouTube. And this guy told me that he doesn't believe politicians should be on YouTube because a lot of senators and congressmen and people running for office have channels, right? And I said, well, it doesn't make any sense to me. You'd be fine with them being on Twitter, right? Twitter, everyone's on there, but you draw the line at them being able to upload videos on a public site. I don't, because when you make a lot of this stuff, Megumi, right? You're trying to like get your message out, so you like go to these different platforms. Well, that's really crazy to me because they're all sitting on these different sites. Most of them are on Twitter. Most of them are on Facebook. Damn near all of them are on Instagram. And it's like, again, you draw the line at YouTube. That's just weird stuff, man. Because like most of us who don't want to see their crap are just not going to watch it, right? I don't think they should be on here. It's like, who the hell are you? I don't get why that would be a problem for them to upload videos on here. Yeah, they're people like you and I. But again, that's why I said like there are some people they take positions on stuff that's just like weird. Like you 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 know you can talk to people about something and maybe they don't get it. Maybe they're not really as into it as you are, but they'll just be like, okay, well, I didn't know this or whatever. Um, they really do this thing where just they will again take a stance on something that's like not even like a thing most would argue about because who cares? Like there's a lot of public figures again on YouTube that I don't even watch, different singers, some actors, and like I don't care, right? If they want to have a channel, who gives a damn? But oh my god, uh this senator from Texas has a channel. Like, so what? Oh, fireworks, right? Lovely. But no, the birthday thing really disturbed me because um I mentioned on Saturday that there are relatives who I don't even have to look anywhere. I don't have to write it down. I instantly, you ask me, what's their birthday? And I can tell you. I can tell you my parents' birthdays. I can tell you my grandparents on both sides' birthdays. One of whom had a birthday that was 2 days apart from mine. Uh, my best friend's birthday, my little brother's birthday. It's not hard for me to remember. And whether they're alive or not, those days still hold significance to me because that was the day that they celebrated being born. So it's just such a strange thing to me to like draw the line at. So people are so weird. They take issues with just the most minute, irrelevant stuff. But I guess you've already seen this. Why are you wearing gloves? So you already have a pretty good idea of the insanity, huh? I'm telling you, man, between the comment section on this site, the live chat, um, the people at this job, I have the people on Discord, there is no shortage of like crazy, weird characters just popping up. Like they just spring up out of the out of the blue to be like, I will write something weird. I will type something strange or deranged, like just all the time. Because I know I mentioned Mixed Signals Queen a lot, but that's not the only weird woman I work with. That's the one I put the most time into, and that's why I feel like the biggest slap in the face because she made me look like the biggest liar and fool in the history of the state of California. But I told you about the one that put the food in her purse, or the one where I asked her, "Hey, can I send you a message?" Oh yeah, as long as it's not one of those kind of messages. All those weird things that just turn me away from wanting to have any dealings with them all collide together. I don't know, maybe in a year. Like if I'm still working there until February, March, April, maybe again, this is a big maybe, but maybe I might feel a temptation to ask one of them, "Hey, can I send you a message sometime?" Assuming I get my phone fixed by then. Uh, but it's going to take a long time for the scar of the Mixed Signals Queen to heal. Can I tell you, all the jobs I've had in the past, I've never had someone that I tried to be friendly with just right in my face, just blow up on me, just explode. Go completely the opposite of what it was supposed to be. That's really insane. I'll never understand her. Trust me, you're not the only one. I couldn't comprehend in a million years why these people act the way they do. Oh man, my backside. Ow. Oh, these just thinking about all this stuff in retrospect. Hmm. It really just blank. You can't seem to have a regular interaction with a chick. Well, you know what it is that they have this thing in purely platonic. They have this thing ingrained in them, and I'm not even trying to be a psychiatrist. I truly believe some of them are just self-destructive. Like I went back and I reread the messages with the one who thought I was her ex-boyfriend, and it's so tragic to me that you can have this girl who I'm going to assume is an adult. No reason to not believe that, but you have this girl who you're having this good conversation with about writing. You're telling her about this book and the purposes of it. You show her some of your art, um, and it's going good for a few days, right? Nice little chat, etc. She's kind of annoying you because she's saying she doesn't do VCs or whatever calls, and I'm like, that's always obnoxious to me. But whatever, you're mostly pleasant dialogue, and then after a few days, the paranoia hits the fan, and she throws out this allegation that really does just come out of nowhere. And no matter how much evidence there is to the contrary, she never once lets go of this belief. She might modify it, right? Some days you are her ex boyfriend, other days you're a friend of his. But she's convinced herself of the conspiracy and she is going to die on that hill. She's going to adhere to this nonsense any way she can. You're more likely to be able to lift a damn car than you are to be able to get her to stop thinking this stupid thing that she believes. Having company is nice for everyone. Nothing wrong with that. You guys could hang out, go to a theater or something. By the way, Megumi, you'll love this. I spoke to her. So I mentioned on Saturday that like the ex boyfriend told me that she took my like thing of I'm nothing to her in my bio and was like, "This is you talking about me," right? Said that to him. He showed me that he's not good at drawing. So that's even more evidence of like her bending reality to be whatever she wants, where it's like she knows that he's not good at like he says he's not good at drawing. She knows he's not good at drawing. I don't claim to be some master A tier artist, but I've been doing this since I was a kid. And basically, he said that it's like more proof that she has something wrong with her to think we're the same person if she gets all of these drawings from me that are of a much I don't even like talking this way about myself of a much higher quality than what he has been shown to do. Like just more evidence of like, yeah, she is completely delusional to think this is the same guy. Well, she can go be goofier by herself because me and him were like, yeah, this is we gotta get away from that trash. No, maybe if more time passes, like let's like I'd say I want to at least a full year to pass, which won't be for a while. It'll be February, March, right? So that's still like 5 or 6 months. I want a full year to pass of working at that job and that thing with that crazy girl happening before I'm like, maybe we could actually invest in another. Now, of course, we don't have to have a year pass. What could happen is one of the chicks could be like, "Hey, you want to go do something?" But of course, that would never happen, right? Never in a million years would one of them be so brazen and upfront as to go, "Hey, why don't we do something together?" Because they never have to be assertive at all. But I'm just saying that I do think if more time passes without, um, damn, that depresses me just knowing that. It's the truth. A lot of these girls, man, and I'm not trying to pretend I'm some seductive, amazing man who just, when he talks to you, he gets into your soul and you want to be with him and be around him and speak to him and wait. I don't pretend to be any of that, but a lot of these chicks, they smile at you, they ask you how you're doing, you have your little running jokes or whatever. And they seem to be able to get you to believe that they like your interactions with them, which is what causes me to think, hey, maybe this can be more than just workplace banter. Maybe we can actually make something happen here. Because I told you, I hung out with two guys that worked there. No issue, no problem, no, you know, insanity. It was, hey, you want to go hang out? Yeah, yeah, whatever. Want to go see a movie? Yeah, yeah, whatever. No problem. So it's really unfortunate that with these stupid girls, there is this tendency to kind of be all over the place where if they're not accusing you of wanting to be their boyfriend, they're trying to say that you made them feel uncomfortable. You just get tired of it because I told you, like, I fundamentally, I don't know if it's my religion, I don't know if it's just my general belief system, I do not believe that as a male you're supposed to just be miserable with regard to chicks. I just don't think that's what's supposed to happen. You're not supposed to just have every woman you talk to, I think you want to date me. So right now, there are only 3 chicks I still speak to. The one from the UK, who I do really like, but she's barely around, so I don't even know if we should count her. The one that was like, "Are you?" I was like, "Oh, I hope you have a good rest. Are you flirting with me?" Because she apologized and she's been like, okay. And there's like another one I think also from the UK that likes to draw. Um, but besides the 3 of them, I have not been speaking to any more of these insane I don't even know what to call them. These these web women, these worldwide web women, these www. The zero women plan is getting like further to its completion. The ZWP. Yeah, it sure seems that way. I'm telling you, when when I made that account and I went in that server for about 2 or 3 weeks, it was like these chicks were coming out just systematically each day with some new weird thing. Like the first day one of me having that account, I go in this server, you talk to some girl, you mention people think your voice is whatever, whatever. She asks to hear it. You say, I'll record this just for you. Are you flirting with me? The day that I was the day I had that call with that girl, it was like, if I heard your voice more, I would want more. I'm talking to her, I'm like, oh, this other person's online. Go talk to her then. And then the next day I get blocked by the one that's in the Discord video. I mean, it really was every 24 hours, there was some weird thing that happened with one of them. If not every single day, then every week. It's crazy. Like I had that account for not even a full month, and I was already had like 10 bad experiences with them. It's nuts. And it can be over anything, which is like more evidence of like why even try if they can just twist all things to be, you are a problem or you are this or whatever. Like what's the point? Dude, I'm sitting on the stuff with that girl, the one I was like, if I heard your voice more, I would want more. I don't even know what to call that video. Like I'm dead serious. I don't I it's 2 hours of stuff in total. Pretty lengthy exchange of messages too. And I don't know what to like. I thought maybe just take her phrase and put that as the title, or maybe you know what I'm saying. I really don't know what you would call it. Is it like what is this Discord edition? Like woman falls for me over my voice and then throws me in the trash. Like it's that's one of the weirdest exchange. That I would say that's honestly the weirdest exchange I've had with abroad since the one that was in the phone. You know what video? Like I think that would probably be the weirdest one since then. Just because it's like you meet this person, they don't even know what they want. Remember, you should talk to my sister. I think she's your type. I'm good. Here's a picture of her. I have no comment. That was actually me. I can't think of a title. Like I know how I do the video. I would just sit there and go, well, things never get any less crazy, and then I would just kind of recount what happened, have some of the stuff there, and just because like again, the problem is with a lot of this stuff with these chicks. Anytime there are sentiments expressed by them where it's like of a "I like you" variety, I always feel like I need to have a recording of it because if I just say she said this, you won't believe me, right? Because the whole thing of no woman likes you, you are an I, were all that trash, right? So if I don't have it taped, which all of it is because I just don't trust them, I think they lie so much. Um, it gives the the seals plausible deniability. Oh well, we don't believe this actually happened. It's like no, it happened, unfortunately. Dude, I'm just imagining making a video on the girl with the you're my ex-boyfriend thing and just seeing the guys be like, you shouldn't have made your account on June the 10th when they were in London. I did for a second think about like trolling her, being like, okay, you caught me. You're just so irresistible. I need you. If I don't type to you each day, I feel my will to live slipping away. I told you by the end of it, I just didn't care anymore. That's why I said, like, I repeated what she had insulted. She had said that the guy had said to her back to her as an insult. Because I was like, whatever, I don't care. Block me, unfriend me. Who gives a damn? You already ruined it. You already destroyed it. Go ahead. Hey, that's gonna be the new nickname for computer clowns. Not even because I was watching this one host and he was mentioning how Harris, when she does her appearances, she never like has an actual interview. She just goes before the clapping seals. That's what the guys like these the guys are for these chicks, right? Because they don't like think critically. They're just there to defend them. So when like I'm gonna just call them the clapping seals. It's like when you do a video and there's a woman on there, they're like, they're sending in the seals. Of course, at that point, you wouldn't care anymore. Dude, it's so sad reading those messages from those first 3 days. It was like being at Disneyland. And then reading the messages after those first 3 days were like being in a correctional facility. I mean, it was like I was being punished for something I didn't even do. And again, no matter how stupid or messed up the stuff they do is, no accountability. Okay, so which one do you prefer, Megumi? Computer clowns or clapping seals? When they see the woman, I'm gonna have the damn video too, like on standby. That's that. Oh man, they're sending in the seals. Yeah, it looks like another woman wasted my time, and I already know the clapping seals are coming. So let's get this over with. I was actually going to tell you that there's like I realize there's like a trilogy that's in the making, right? Of like we can't go back, and then everything started crumbling, leaving nothing, and how they're all part of this broader disillusion I have with stuff. It's just a shame that things are this way. It really is. But that's one of the points I make in this. I hadn't even written anything for just like this idea I had for a video, um, and I did a stream some probably like last week before last. And I was talking about like imagine if things were different. Like I can live with not having some big giant YouTube channel. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. But just imagine if you could actually just go out and meet a woman who wanted the same. They're all so different, right? Wanted the same things that you wanted. Get to have a family, and you know, you weren't seeing relatives die every other year. You had people involved that actually gave a damn, which used to be the case. And I just think it's so sad that you know that there's no like preordained thing of you will just never meet a woman. Like there has been a system created where this group of people does not have to do anything to appeal to the opposite gender. And the people who are supposed to be attempting to appeal to them are offered no incentives to even want to do this, and are actually oftentimes attacked for their supposed inability to court one of them or appeal to one of them or whatever the hell. And I feel like things have gotten so rancid that there is like this strange erotic subtext between me and some of these broads. Like you got the one girl who says, "Oh, I like you," which again I don't believe. And even if she did, it didn't appeal to me. But still, you have the other one that thinks I'm her ex-boyfriend, which is already like, I recognize you as the man I dated. You are him. We were in a relationship together. Just more like creepy stuff. And then you have the girl who, is like, if I heard your voice more, I'd want more. And who told me to moan when I was speaking to her in the damn call. And I'm just thinking, like, I'm really this big, giant I word that's trying to become the boyfriend of all these chicks that don't like me, but then they're saying and doing stuff like that. How does that work? Because that one that says she liked me, Megumi, there was a point where that stupid piece of garbage was doing hours long calls with me, if not every day, like every other day. Like the call that she admitted to supposedly liking me in, that thing was 6 hours. And it's like, how do you, again, this goes back to our thing, right? How do you spend so much time with someone and just in the span of a few days, a week, you're talking about they're boring. The conversation with them are always the same thing. It's like, Bimbo, you didn't have a problem with it being the supposed same thing when you were speaking to me for that long. How can they just turn and switch up on you like that? But see, this is why I said I don't have these problems with other men. You're not going to see me talk to somebody over and over and over again, and all of a sudden, get away from me, But they can do that. Megumi, the broad that's in that, listen, the one in that Discord video, the call with her that you hear where she's like, "You're probably my favorite person in this VC at this moment." Dude, that thing was 3 hours long. And even after I left it, she was still messaging me, asking where I went, asking me all this personal stuff, telling me personal stuff about herself. Even considering like having a call with me, private one-on-one, which, I only didn't do because it was like 5 or 6 in the morning. I was just so damn tired. But my point is that I really want you to understand things have gotten to a point where they can say and do, and they can say anything and it means nothing. If you don't believe me, I will go through my messages with this the one that says she liked me. Of course, we have some nice lovely stuff, other forms of proof as well. And you'll see 6-hour call, 3-hour call, 2-hour call, and it's like all this time for nothing. Like, women exist to waste the world's time. Yeah, which means you can't take what they say seriously. You can't trust them. No, you can't. Dude, I've gotten to a point where it's like almost a reflex to just be like, "So are you going to get me in trouble?" Like, I told you there was a girl at my job asking what my name was. I asked, "Why are you going to report me?" I had this other girl. She's from I think Canada, and I hadn't spoken to her in a few weeks. And I asked her, "If I write you a poem, or if I say I miss you, are you going to block me?" Because I told her about the thing with the one in the video, and she said no. But this is why I said I just, people always say get over it, but these experiences, they last with you because you run the gauntlet of all the insanity. You just don't know what to believe anymore. Look at the relative stuff. It's like this, like Megumi, you realize that me not having a phone and having a tire explode on me where people are driving at 70, 80, 100 miles per hour. I could have been killed. And they don't give a damn. They know it happened. But not one of these shoe shining, boot licking, behind kissing, worthless bastards had 1 cent to offer to pay for a new tire, to pay to get a new rim, to pay for the they won't lift one finger to assist you with anything, just more worthless talk. You need to go get you a new phone. I said, well, with what money? You can't trust anything these people say. It's all contradicted by what they do or don't do. Think about this. You're driving 70, 80 miles per hour, all of a sudden, and they know about it. They're so concerned that none of them reach out, and only one of them is like, "Oh, I'll do this thing," where they won't even pay for it. They'll just take you to go buy something. Lagumi, there was a time where I used to believe that I was this, because I mentioned, like, before I did the women content, I was like, more inclined to say I'm bad and I'm horrible and all the rest of that stuff, right? And that's why now it doesn't really affect me when people do the attempting to shame me stuff. Um, what I just think is so interesting is that in seeing how things have gone and seeing all the stuff that women will say, it's gotten to a point where I hate to use the phrase, but self-parody. I mean, you got this girl who blocks me. She joins calls that I'm in, or I'll join a call that she's in. She won't mute me, so she can still hear what I'm saying. And it's like, why? If you don't want to hear from me ever again, and you have the option to not speak to me, why not just turn the thing off where you can't hear me? Same thing with the other lady, right? First she blocks me, then she unblocks me to write some nasty stuff. Then she blocks me again and then unblocks me again. Just it doesn't make any sense. It's all just the train wreck of trying to be friends with a woman. It rears its ugly head once more. You can't take what they say seriously. You just can't trust a single thing that comes out of their mouths. I like you, person I'm going to block in 3 days. You made me accept your friend request. I'm just imagining I have like I'm like a telepath. You will accept my friend request. Yes, sir. And then after like 5 days, it just wears off and she blocks me. She comes to her senses, supposedly. Especially if it appears to be complimentary towards you. Yeah. Because remember, compliments don't mean anything either. Most of this stuff, most of the bad experiences I've had with women in recent years have been like the path to hell has been paved in compliments and flattery. Oh, you're more handsome and smarter and da 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 than my ex, but I don't like you that way. Yeah. Serious. Like there's a running theme where the more they compliment you, the less likely there's a chance they actually like you and will do something with you in the long term. I've noticed that pattern. No one even liked you. I just said my friend request. I had to. You made me. You forced me. You reached out through the screen and had me at gunpoint. God, man. Never an honest word. The only way I can get it to stop is I just don't talk to him. But I tell you that there's one good thing that came out of this. I started that Discord stuff again to get mixed signals queen out of my mind, and I think it has worked for the most part. Like I still think about her if I'm doing a stream or there's a day at work where she shows up, but aside from that, she has really faltered in terms of significance, which I am glad for because that saga was driving me nuts. These are some pretty horrendous women. That saga was really crazy indeed. Isn't it funny that like every few months there's some weird multi-month thing with some broad? Like the Miss Revolving Door thing was mostly over the summer of last year. Then she reappeared in like September, or excuse me, in like October and November, right? Um, and did even more stupid stuff. And then you start talking to this other chick at your job, and you're like, okay, I guess I'll go. Like it's interesting how like they just pick up where the other one left off. I wish you could have heard that like that's because you kept bothering me. It's like, yeah. If I'm really bothering you, why didn't you block me at that point or mute me? Like, man, revisionist history is real fun, huh? She was forced to be on my friend list. She had no choice, no way out. I have these amazing powers. I can just make a woman do anything if you listen to this buffoon. You will accept my friend request. You will sit in hours long calls with me. Do it now. It took the mind control several days to wear off, and that's when she summoned the courage and power and strength to be able to reverse course and block me. I think somebody's playing some music outside. I know I hear the rooster again. I do find that kind of disturbing that people just at like 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning just playing their songs, just jamming. And I wouldn't even care if it weren't so damn loud. Like they play stuff where if you don't have your window closed, you can hear it from a whole block away. They must have their stereo or boombox or whatever on volume 40 or 50. It's bad. Because like imagine if somebody was trying to go to work the next day and they have to hear that. What a great way to spend your day off, huh? Just jamming to some songs. No, I just wish one person could say something I actually believe it. It's crazy just how many lies there are. I care about you. I love you. You're my friend. It's like just go away. Get lost. Exit stage left. Like, come on. Tell you, there was one guy who said that we were friends, and I was just like, no, we're not. This is a little off topic, but have you had any channels you used to watch regularly before, but over time they changed so much in their content you don't watch them anymore? Oh yeah. I mentioned to you there was a guy that used to make stop motion videos. That's where you take an item and you just keep taking pictures of it to make it look like it's moving on its own. And I used to watch him back when I was in this is like 2009, 10, 11, like the late 2000s, early 2010s. And I went to his channel about 4 or 5 years ago, and I noticed he just no new stop motions, just all videos of live streams of him and his girlfriend, and I guess different relatives and all types of strange characters. And one stream, he announced that his girlfriend was pregnant. Man, I unsubscribed so fast. I was like, you went from making stop motions to popping out kids you probably can't afford. Nope. Goodbye. Like they even start asking their viewers to always subscribe to their Patreon account. I do remember you talking about that particular channel. Yeah, that was one of my because I used to do stop motions when I was younger. In fact, I still have like some again, this is not like a big thing for me, but there's still like a little bit of a desire to do more of them because I think they're interesting to like write a script for and make the stuff, be able to like not have to draw things. The problem has been that I don't have like a safe room or area where I can just have a set and all the toys or whatever other stuff I'd need to make it. And that's been like the biggest hindrance for the last several years. But I said it's really sad that that was one of the guys that got me into doing that in terms of just like I saw he would do it and I tried to emulate it. And it's like that's how that's how my relationship with his stuff ended. Just him and his stupid girlfriend. Every single new upload. Oh, is he gonna finally make a new video? Oh, it's just him and his girlfriend. Okay. Oh, she's pregnant. Okay, well, uh, I'm good. I mean, Team Four Star is going down a pretty similar path where they used to, do a bridge and then all they do is podcast stuff now. So their subscribers have basically gone on an extended vacation. They don't watch anymore. Mm. Man, you were talking about Spider-Man 4. I said, I don't know why we can't get Blade 4. The MCU is trying to do their own Blade, but it's been in development hell for several years at this point, and Wesley Snipes is still able to, put his stuff on. It's weird. These studios, they make decisions I can't understand. But that's another series where it's like, why can't we get a fourth entry again? I'm a little confused. Everybody wants to keep starting over, and of course they're all trilogy obsessed. Every last bit of them, they all are stuck on three. That's why I was so happy when we got Thor 4. I was like, you know what? Anything to break that three. That's unfortunate. This one channel I used to watch did a lot of analysis videos of games in recent years. His channel content quality has really dipped. It's like a nosedive. So that's what I don't understand about these people. Like, you make content so you want somebody to watch it, but then you're gonna, if you deviate so much from what you used to do, nobody's gonna check it out. And he keeps talking about he wants more people to subscribe to his Patreon support. Oh yeah. Well, a lot of people who do this stuff, like, I don't shy away from the fact that I would prefer if this were my main thing, whatever. But like a lot of the people that pursue this have convinced themselves this will eventually be the thing that I get paid to do. So they do anything they can to entice people, or what they think will entice people, to give them money, right? He knows if you go and donate on Patreon, YouTube's not going to take as big of a cut out of it, or any cut from it, which is like more for him. Uh I've seen people who make videos that aren't even 10 minutes long and they have minute-long ads in the video. Like, just people, when this becomes their main thing, they are cutting every corner, they are stretching every dollar and every cent. It is a damn shame. So, and for sure, I'd be all up for a Blade 4 movie. I think you might be able to get it because well, I really don't want to spoil Deadpool and Wolverine. Uh but I'll just say that that Blade reboot has been in it languishing for years, and I can't think of any reason to keep playing around with this non-serious project and just pick up from where we left off. Well, I tell you, the only one of those old series that I would want rebooted is X-Men, because a lot of like the Professor X and Magneto actors are pretty old. A lot of the other major actors have moved on to different things. Like, I don't think you're going to get was it Marsden to come back and play Cyclops? He's too busy with Sonic. So I would, that's like the only movie series with superheroes where I'm like, just start over. If you want to keep Jackman as Wolverine, whatever, but the rest of them, dump them. Jackman seems intent on playing Wolverine for the rest of his life. Well, I was saying Snipes is in good shape and he can still do it. So I don't know why we can't get more with him. It's all part of this desire for them to just keep starting over with stuff, and it's really annoying. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, "If it ain't broke, don't fix it." That's how I feel. Got to keep those reboots coming in. Well, that's one of the reasons why I didn't go to see the Batman in theaters, because, and I explained this before, we had 3 different live action Batmans or Batmen in 10 years. Like 2012, the Dark Knight trilogy ended. 2016, that's when we had, Superman versus Batman, or BVS, whatever. And then you had the Batman 2 years ago, and it's like, when are we going to stop starting over? Like, can we just get a continuity that lasts for, like, I'm not, the MCU has worn out its welcome for a lot of people, but at a minimum, I can appreciate that it is a singular continuity that's been going since 2008. This is the era of reboots anyway, movie reboots and game remasters/remakes. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just tired of beginning again. Like, why do I have to see someone start over for the 15th time when I can just continue with what was already there? Hmm. I'm just sick of reboots. I'm really tired of them. The only stuff I want rebooted, I can count on one hand: X-Men, Transformers, and what's the other one? The Universal monsters, because a lot of those are really, really old. And I think if you had modern uh, adaptations, it would be kind of interesting if it's done handled with respect to the source material. So, just X-Men does make a lot of sense to reboot. Well, the crazy part is they tried to reboot it with their own continuity. Days of Futures Past was supposed to be the start of Fox's X-Men reboot. Like they used it as a slick way to keep Wolverine around with a bunch of new actors playing most of the old cast. Um, but that Dark Phoenix movie, man, what a way to go out. Like, they took one of the greatest stories in all of comics, one of the most universally loved X-Men stories, period, and gave it two crappy adaptations. X-Men 3 failed to adapt it properly. And then Dark Phoenix was like, "Oh yeah, you thought we learned our lesson after what, 13 years?" No. Just trash, man. Well, X-Men and Transformers have overlap in that there's so many different characters and members, and we only get focused on like the same 5 or 6. To where I'm just like, can we start over? Can we begin again? We've been dealing with this one continuity for how many years? Can we just get some fresh stuff going? Mm. Trying to think of some other Marvel failures. Even with Guardians 3, I feel like if that came out 3 or 4 years ago, it probably made $1 billion instead of the 700,000 or however the hell much it made. Fantastic Four doesn't really get talked about either. I mean, there's a reason for that. They've had no new film in 10 years. Their popularity has been completely eclipsed by Avengers. Um, like I told you, when Marvel was going bankrupt in the '90s, they sold off 4 popular properties to try and keep some money. Spider-Man went to Sony. Fantastic Four and X-Men went to Fox and whatever, and then Hulk went to Universal. And the whole reason the MCU even exists is that Feige was like, "Hey, we have the rights to the core members of the Avengers. Let's make something around them." So it's really just been a combination of Avengers getting a lot of love in the last decade, and there not really being that much of a push for Fantastic Four media, which is sad because, like I said, I read hundreds of issues of the comic. I enjoy them. Um, they've always had that sibling dynamic or that family dynamic that I don't think a lot of other superhero teams have. So it's things are subject to change. I mean, they're getting a film next year. I haven't read the current Fantastic Four because they have that horrendous Dan Slott on the book. I don't want to read anything. I don't want to read any of his trash. Mm. You can take him and keep him away from me. You can have him write all the things you want. I'm not gonna read any of it. He's one of the reasons that Spider-Man comics have been bad for the last 13 years. I'm still laughing at when you said that X-Men were forgotten. It's like they are absolutely not. People were I didn't even like 97 that much, that show. But people were talking about it. And that was just a 10 episode season, and it was getting hyped up every week. No, Fantastic Four and I'd say Daredevil are probably because like the really like the original big Marvel properties, right? Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Avengers, Daredevil, right? And like if you want to do individual superheroes and Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, right? Like all have had these hundreds and hundreds of issues of long running books. But besides Daredevil, Fantastic Four have had the most just lack of usage in recent years. And even so, Daredevil at least had the Netflix show. It's really sad watching Fantastic Four be so underutilized because they have some of the most iconic Marvel villains, period, in the Rogues Gallery. I mean, Doctor Doom, Galactus, like the Scroll, Super Scroll, Annihilus. No, I think before I go to sleep, I'll probably read some more Daredevil. That's how I'm with comics. I'll just get like a whole, just start with one series and go all the way down. Oh man, the sun's coming out great. I don't think I've heard anyone mention. Well, I guess I wouldn't bring that up. That's another example of the insanity of these people, where you dislike a character because of its fans instead of the character itself, like the bad writing or whatever, like the concept just being something that doesn't appeal to you. Like I would never let any of the people that were hyping up Captain Marvel be the reason I don't like that character. I liked Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel. After that, she just got annoying and shoved down everyone's throats. Just another sign of wasted potential by Marvel. They gave her an ongoing series at one point, and it's just been a decline, man. Like What's something else that came out that was 'cause because there's so many flops, like Black Adam flopped, Indiana Jones 5 flopped. People are not watching this stuff. It's interesting. I think we're actually seeing the death of franchises because a lot of these things are just not picking up steam. I remember just sitting there. I was like, "Who in the hell?" Because I remember when I was a kid is when what was the fourth one called? Crystal Skull. Um, whatever the name of the fourth one was. Like I remember when that one came out, people were trashing it or speaking disparagingly of it, and it's like I didn't know anyone who was like, I hope they make another. So when that was released, just like okay, I guess it's cool that we have five of these now, even though damn near nobody wanted them after the third one. It's just weird. So when in doubt, and if you're a studio, just make something that people don't want, and I'm sure it'll make some money. Unless you're Sony, that is. Like, the thing about the MCU is that they can make crap that nobody wants, and they have so many properties that they can just sprinkle something together and then get some money back. Um, but Sony has nothing. Like after Venom 3 comes out, it's gonna be real fun to watch them sink further and further into the abyss of irrelevance and coins disappearing before their very eyes. Oh man. Hmm. No, I stand by what I said earlier. A lot of the recent like disenfranchising with movies is the stuff is either not good or it's not appealing to people. Um, like I just refuse to believe we're ever going to get to a point where everyone is just tired of movies altogether. But they're not doing themselves any favors by making things nobody wants to see. I see Megumi got real quiet. He was like, "Man, he's thinking of all the money that Jonathan Majors just flushed down the drain by treating his girlfriend like trash." he, he's too perplexed to make any more comments. He's like, "Oh man." He's like, "Why, John? Why?" Megumi, do you have anything left to say? Because I do feel a certain clock ticking. I don't want to let you get a final word in. Still thinking about this Spider-Man 4 movie, Blade 4. Yeah, well, I told you that Sony could make like Marvel and Sony could get together easily and make this stuff. And Rush Hour 4. That was out of nowhere, but I'm saying that like they have the rights to Blade. Wesley Snipes can still do it. There's really no reason to not bother with it. They just don't want more money. That's the only explanation I can think of. I heard there is another Toy Story movie as well. Yeah. If they do 5, they need to do 6. We need to have 2 trilogies. Man, I remember when Toy Story 3 came out and everybody thought it was the ending, and then 4 was like, not exactly. What about Monsters Inc? I missed that, and even Ice Age. I'd have to look into Ice Age. I haven't paid attention to it in a long time. I could have sworn there was something Monsters Inc. I know Incredibles is getting a third one. No sixth Ice Age movie. Like I said, I don't know what these studios are thinking. Like Marvel is making Captain America 4, and I haven't seen one person express any excitement for that thing. And it's like imagine if they did Blade 4 or Raimi Spider-Man 4. I'm serious. I remember that they had to do a bunch of reshoots for Cap 4 because it was like too Hulk focused or something. Always putting out movies nobody wants to watch. Yeah, like, dude, what I I pledge to you, the Marvels was a complete failure by every metric. Like when I think of superhero, like just movies that nobody wanted to see, right? That came out in the last 5 years. It's the Marvels, Morbius, Madam Web, and probably Eternals. Nobody wants this stuff. With Eternals, even the beautiful Angelina Jolie couldn't get people to turn out in mass numbers. And you had the guy who played Shang-Chi, clapping and saying, "Oh, my movie did so well," but we haven't heard about a second one since it came out because, like, Marvel sees the writing on the wall. They're not going to keep taking chances on all this stuff that nobody's interested in. Man, the Marvels should be studied as a kid, like just if you how to destroy your series. I You know what? I thought there was a higher chance of me becoming a millionaire than the most successful movie franchise ever putting out a flop after 15 years of stuff that always made money, but they surprised me. They showed me something I'd never, hey, you've never seen this. I got a notification on Discord. I thought it was somebody messaging me, but then it's one of those server pings. Always putting out movies nobody wants to watch. The only thing they have in their lineup that is confirmed I'd go and see is Fantastic Four. Like that and the Avengers. But other than that, I'm good. Unless there's something else I'm forgetting at the moment, which I don't think I am. Dude, Sony is like this person said, like, if these studios were like a family, Marvel would be the eldest child that set the example, and DC and Sony are like the two younger brothers that just can't keep up no matter how hard they try. And Sony is even more pathetic because at least DC can say every once in a while they did something, like he did something impressive, but Sony just keeps fumbling. Just dude, even Venom has fallen privy to the trivia, not trivia, the trilogy rule, right? Because they're like, oh, three's the last one, which I don't really mind because I don't think they were that good, but still, like, I'm so sick of these studios and threes. Ever since Star Wars and Back to the Future did that, everybody feels like they have to do it. The power of three. Oh, or if you're talking about TASM, it's the rule of two. Remember from Star Wars, because it's just two movies. It was supposed to be like 200 movies, but because the second one was so bad, they were like, all right, forget it. Let's play ball, dude. The road to the MCU Spider-Man was really interesting because it was like first the TASM one came out in 2012 and it did like okay, right? And they announced a second one 2 years later, a third one 4 years later, uh fourth one 6 years later, right? It's supposed to be one every 2 years. Then the second one comes out, and the first they delay the third one to 2018. Then they start to have these like behind the scenes meetings with Marvel, and they get rid of Garfield, and they're like, "Oh, Spider-Man will join the MCU." I just find it interesting because it wasn't just, oh, we put this thing out, it's bad, let's just scrap it. There was a whole series of events that led to this attempt at a new series just flopping and being deleted after a second entry. So I said, if you ever make a movie, don't make it assuming you're going to get more, because that there should be, like, again, a crash course on just how to fail when it comes to writing stuff. Like, at least when somebody writes a TV show, they know if they're doing a season, they can, you know, conclude most stuff in it, whatever, like satisfy most of it, maybe plant the seeds for something else down the line, but whatever. But a lot of these studios, they just assume we have billions of dollars or millions of dollars, we can do whatever we want, and they get a nice taste of reality when it doesn't turn out the way it's like. No, need to make a good movie before you can aspire to make 10 more. Like, it's not how this works. I said Sony is run by clowns. And after 10 years, they still haven't learned their lesson. I think we'll come back on right now. Oh, damn. See, Megumi, okay. Dude, what are you talking about? More BS is like the greatest movie ever made. That was the joke I had with my friend that he didn't call me the Friday that came out because he was at the theater watching Morbius all day. You go to one showing and then your other pals pull up, and then you go to another showing, and then your buddy from down the street pulls up, and you go to another showing, and then the mailman gets called for. I say he didn't just watch Morbius, he lived Morbius. He could recite all the lines of the film by the end of it. Thanks for the stream. Hope you take care. Yeah, I will let me see. Like I said, this is the 6-day work week, so I'm gonna see what day I have available. It should be Saturday. I told them do not schedule me on Saturday. I don't care what happens. Do not schedule me. Yeah, I'm off on Saturday, so I'll be here again on Saturday. I hope you enjoyed, and that MSQ though, she's running her lives into the ground at this rate. I'm telling you, I'm looking at the schedule, and I don't see her again until Friday. And then let me see. On Sunday, they have me coming in at 2:30. Maybe they have her coming in later in the night. Let me see. Yeah, okay. She shows up. She comes as I leave. Okay. That means I don't have to deal with her. And she's not there the next day. Not there the day after that. So yeah, I think she is getting phased out. That's just my opinion. The writing is on the wall. But again, we every time we think that she's close to getting out of there, she finds a miracle way to stay around, stick around, because she's like a roach. Dude, that's another nickname for her, the makeup roach. The caked up and makeup roach. But yeah, I'll be back on Saturday. So I hope you enjoyed the stream, and hopefully you don't run your studio into the ground with all these horrible movies like some other people have. And whatever you do, don't be a Jonathan Majors.